Imagine this. You wake up, scroll through your phone, and suddenly, your heart sinks. A headline blares, U.S. adds just 22,000 jobs in August. Unemployment soars to a 4-year high. At first glance, it may seem like just another dreary economic statistic, another blip on the radar that's more relevant to politicians and investors than to you. But hold on, those numbers aren't just digits. They pulse with the lifeblood of our economy, influencing everything from your chances of a promotion to your neighbor's job security, all the way to whether your savings will hold up against the skyrocketing costs of living. Right now, that lifeblood appears to be weakening, and it's time we take notice. Today, on BrainFuel Reads, we're unpacking a pivotal what-if question that could ripple out to impact everything: your paycheck, your future, and even the upcoming election. What if the U.S. jobs market has slipped into recession? Stick with me, because if that's the reality, the fallout will reach far beyond the economy. It will hit home, personally and profoundly. Let's kick things off at the moment the alarm bells began ringing, the August jobs report. Economists had hoped for stable hiring, around 150,000 to 175,000 new jobs. Not dazzling, but enough to suggest our economy still had some kick left in it. The reality? A mere 22,000 jobs were added, a figure so minuscule it nearly disappears in a labor force exceeding 160 million. And the unemployment rate? It climbed to 4.3%, the highest it's been in nearly 4 years. But that wasn't the end of the surprises. The government revisited reports from earlier months and revised the numbers, significantly cutting down previously suggested job gains. Panic followed when June's figures showed net job losses, marking the first decline since the difficult period of 2020. This isn't just a stumble, it's a staggering misstep, making us realize we've been navigating a landscape of shifting sands. When we look closer, the picture darkens. Healthcare added about 31,000 jobs, but other sectors shrank sharply. The federal government cut 15,000 positions, manufacturing lost 12,000, and many white-collar offices barely moved. Then there's inequality. Unemployment among Black Americans rose to 7.5%, over twice that of white workers, a stark reminder that downturns don't strike evenly. Some communities feel the pain first and hardest. So, the August report was more than just a disappointing statistic. It was a glaring warning sign, a flashing red light that demands our attention. But here's where things take a twist. It's not only about August, it's about the revisions that tell a deeper tale. Picture this. Every month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics eagerly updates its data as fresh reports flow in. Typically, these adjustments are like subtle ripples in a pond, just a few thousand jobs adjusted here and there. But this month, the ripples became a tidal wave. Hundreds of thousands of jobs were quietly erased from the records of previous months. Take a moment to absorb that. The ground beneath your feet felt sturdy. The economy appeared to be thriving, a vibrant machine churning out opportunities. And then, just like that, the floor shifts, and suddenly, you're staring into an abyss of uncertainty. Those jobs you thought were flourishing, they were mere illusions. It's akin to opening your bank account only to discover that the deposits you relied upon were nothing but accounting errors. For June, what first looked like a solid gain turned into a loss of about 13,000 jobs. This suggests the slowdown began earlier than expected, and raises a troubling question: how much worse will revisions get? Economists warn that an annual benchmark adjustment later this year could strip away even more jobs from today's counts. In simpler terms, the rosy picture we gaze at today may still be hiding shadows we have yet to see. So what's behind this puzzling slowdown? Why is the once robust job machine beginning to sputter? The answer isn't simple, it's a mix of forces. Recent policy changes play a big role. New tariffs have pushed up costs for businesses that depend on global supply chains. Picture a factory suddenly paying more for every component and shipment. The response? Pause hiring. Immigration is another factor. With stricter enforcement and fewer new workers, industries from construction to agriculture to hospitality are short on labor, and therefore consumers. Federal cutbacks add more strain, as the loss of government jobs ripples through local economies. Yet policy isn't the only culprit. CEOs, wary of tariffs, elections, and geopolitical tensions, are holding back. Uncertainty makes businesses cautious, especially when the future feels foggy. And in the background, technology is steadily reshaping work. AI and automation aren't a storm, but a constant drip, quietly replacing roles once filled by people. Together, these forces create an economy where hiring feels like driving with the brakes half pressed. Slow, uneasy, and clouded with doubt. Now let's dive into a pressing question. Are we on the brink of a jobs recession? Unlike traditional recessions that signal an economy's overall decline, a jobs recession is marked by something more unnerving: rising unemployment accompanied by stagnant or decreasing job creation. In early 2025, unemployment stood at a steady 3.7%, but now it has crept up to 4.3%, and it continues to rise. Hiring that once provided hope is now at a virtual standstill, and those losing their jobs are finding it increasingly difficult to land new ones. The average duration of unemployment is lengthening, making the job market feel like a daunting maze. History shows us how these trends signal impending crises. Just look at the early 2000s, when employment rates climbed before the dot-com burst, or the slow burn of 2008, where initial job losses spiraled into a full-blown economic catastrophe. So maybe the real question is, are we already in a jobs recession and only beginning to see the signs? That brings us to the next crucial scenario where the jobs market has genuinely entered a recession. What does that look like exactly? First, the impact on workers becomes stark. Job security dwindles, promotions dry up, and raises become elusive. For those already jobless, the search becomes a grueling battle, disproportionately affecting vulnerable groups like Black Americans and younger workers. Next, the ripple effect on the economy is undeniable. With consumer spending, the engine of U.S. growth, often driven by job security, fears of unemployment lead to tighter budgets. Businesses from local shops to large chains feel the crunch, with many forced to downsize. And how does this play in the political arena? Rising unemployment can reshape public opinion and fuel discontent. In an environment where trust in data is shaky, these trends risk being exploited as political fodder. And finally, the global picture. When the world's largest consumer economy hits a bump in the road, it sends shockwaves across the globe. Exporters in Asia, commodity producers in Latin America, and manufacturers in Europe all feel the pressure. Markets become volatile, currencies fluctuate, and a sense of global confidence starts to erode. In short, a jobs recession in America doesn't simply stay put. It has a way of cascading across borders, impacting economies around the world. Where does this leave the Federal Reserve in these turbulent waters? The Fed's mandate is to strike a delicate balance between growth and inflation, yet it feels like navigating between two looming icebergs. On one side lies a faltering jobs market, hinting at an impending recession. On the opposite side, stubborn inflation risks simmer, fanned by tariffs and global tensions that refuse to fade. Currently, markets are betting that the Fed will cut rates during its September meeting, with traders feeling it's nearly a foregone conclusion. But the timing is fraught with challenges. If they wait too long, unemployment could spiral higher than necessary. However, if they act too soon, inflation could reignite, compelling even tougher measures down the road. It's a classic central bank dilemma, made worse by the fact that the jobs data itself is now under scrutiny. If policymakers can't trust the numbers, how can they feel confident in their decisions? So in the end, what's on the horizon? The upcoming jobs reports are poised to be pivotal. If unemployment continues on its upward trajectory, and revisions keep dragging earlier figures down, the specter of a jobs recession will become impossible to ignore. Inflation data will also be in the spotlight as we assess the Fed's capacity to make aggressive cuts. Meanwhile, we'll keep a close eye on the political landscape. Tariffs, immigration policies, and government hiring decisions are all actively shaping this labor market in real time. The reality is that the U.S. economy has withstood its fair share of storms. However, each tempest is unique. This one arrives amidst high debt levels, a fragile trust in institutions, and the rapid pace of technological change, making it a challenge like no other. As we wrap this up, let's circle back to the question we started with. What if the U.S. jobs market is teetering on the edge of a recession? The warning signs are already flashing. Workers are feeling the pinch, businesses are tightening their belts, and policymakers are caught in a web of tough decisions. While a collapse reminiscent of 2008 isn't a foregone conclusion, it does call for our attention. We need to be proactive, preparing for potential challenges ahead, and asking the right questions now before a minor slowdown spirals into something much more serious. Thanks for tuning in to BrainFuel Reads. If you found this deep dive insightful, please hit that like button, subscribe for more what-if explorations, and let me know in the comments, do you think the jobs market is already in recession? Or is this just a bump in the road? And as always, keep your brain fueled